Just about a week or 2 weeks ago, the Texas legislature passed a THCA hemp ban. So basically, they're closing the Farm Bill loophole. So in Texas, weed is not legal. We don't have recreational marijuana legal here. We don't really even have medical either. We have a very bare bones medical program that's extremely restrictive, that only allows for a handful of very extreme medical. And there's only a handful of stores in the state that are actually licensed to sell the product. But there is the Farm Bill loophole. THCA products and Delta-8 hemp products are able to be bought here in smoke shops around the state. And just a week and a half ago or so, the Texas state legislature tried to do a full ban on all THC products, THCA, Delta-8. They want to get rid of this illicit kind of gray market marijuana. They're just wanting to completely shut down completely close the Farm Bill loophole. So in Texas, we have so the governor in Texas has line item veto alongside having the ability to, he doesn't have to sign bills into law. He can choose to either veto, sign a bill into law, or do nothing. And then once the time period passes for the bill to sit on his desk, I think the bill sits on his desk for something like a week or two. Once that time period passes, if he lets it pass, then the bill automatically goes into action. So the only way for the governor to have possibly stopped this piece of legislation from being enacted was to outright veto it, or line item veto certain aspects of it. And that date that he needed to do this by was Sunday, June 22nd. Well, I predicted, and almost everybody was predicting, there's absolutely no way that Abbot is going to veto this bill, that he generally supports it, and that, he would be going against his constituency or a lot of the, against his party in general to veto this. But absolutely mind-blowingly, he vetoes the bill. It comes out of nowhere. Part of it doesn't surprise me in that it is such a huge. It has become a multi-billion-dollar industry in Texas, right? There are hundreds or thousands of small businesses that have been opened up. There are tens of thousands of people that are directly employed by these businesses. It produces a lot of GDP and circulates more money in the economy. The benefits are just so strong for having this sort of illicit marijuana market that we do here in Texas that it may be practically beneficial for him to veto this, but it is electorally beneficial for him to let it go through. And so that's potentially. And so that's why what made me think he's going to lean much more towards allowing it to go through is because he cares far more about his electability and what his re-election than he does about the morality of the legality of THC and whatnot. Let's see what this article has to say. Hopefully it will give us a little bit more information. In vetoing Senate Bill 3 just before midnight Sunday, so he did it minutes before it was supposed to be automatically enacted, Abbott argued that the measure would have faced valid constitutional challenges that would have kept it tied up in court for years. He called the legislature back to Austin for a special session next month to pass stricter rules for products that contain tetracannabinol, blah, 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 the psychoactive compound in marijuana known as THC that SB 3 sought to ban. Okay, so it's not like he's had some change of heart and that he actually sees the benefits of having, keeping this market in place and not implementing this kind of ban. He's basically saying, I don't like the way you're doing it. And we're going to call a special, we're going to retry this again in a week and let you guys clean this up a little bit. But I wonder if that really is the case. I wonder if it really is, if there really are wonky technical problems that he has with the bill, or if this is a way for him to kind of delay things a little bit, kind of kick the can down the road, even if only a week, and figure out what they want to do. Kind of maybe the people's anger about it will go down. I don't know what their strategy is here, but it wouldn't surprise me if there's some sort of delay tactic here, right? If they're like, we don't know exactly what we want to do yet, but we're going to keep kicking the can down the road a little bit longer, at least one more week. Patrick added that he was staying with the ban, continuing to insist that there was not enough law enforcement to regulate Texas' more than 8,000 THC retailers. Where does Dan Patrick's hatred and distaste for marijuana come from? I wonder why he thinks it's why he's so strongly against it, and this has become his bailiwick. Why? I wonder if there's some very specific reason. The spat marks a rare break between two of the most powerful Republicans in Texas after a legislative session that ushered in a series of conservative victories on which Patrick and Abbot were largely aligned. And with Patrick doubling down on a ban heading into a special session, there appeared to be no resolution in sight. Abbott spokesperson Andrew Mahalaris reiterated the governor's contention that SB 3 was well-intentioned but legally flawed, and this is why he is putting it on the special session agenda so that it can be fixed, improved, and signed into law. Okay, yeah, so it appears that he is still generally against THC products of any kind being available in the state of Texas, and that he wants a full-throated ban. Still, Governor Abbott has always shared the lieutenant governor's desire to ensure that THC products are not sold to our children and that the dangerous synthetic drugs that we have seen recently are banned. Mahalaris said in a statement without addressing Patrick's allegations that the governor had deceived him and neglected to share concerns about the bill sooner. Instances of public discord between Abbott and Patrick, who have overlapped in their respective roles for a decade, have been far and few between. In 2023, the two clashed over how to slash property taxes, with Abbott supporting a House proposal over Patrick's preferred approach. Patrick erupted, saying at the time that Abbott seems misinformed about the roles of the executive and legislative branches of the government. In the end, Patrick held his ground and won approval on a tax cut package that included his push to increase the state's homestead exemption on school district taxes, or the amount of a home's value that can't be taxed to pay for public schools. Dan Patrick seems like a monster. He's trying to cut school he's trying to do whatever he can to cut school funding at the exact same time he's doing whatever he can to ban all THC products in the state of Texas. And I have a sinking feeling that he's one of those people that uses but my children and pearl clutches over the idea of having legal THC in the same state as children exist. It seems like borderline satirical for him to be so against, like, to be for a full-throated THC ban for the reasons of, like, protecting children, at the exact same time he is for implementing various different kinds of rules and laws that cut public school funding and divert funding from public schools into private schools. I almost guarantee you Dan Patrick is a huge voucher program person. So, like, is a huge school voucher dude. So this seems just zero self-awareness from this dude. I mean, if you just look at him, he's like 6 million years old, all right? So, like, it does not surprise me that this dude is out of touch, okay? That does not surprise me one tiny bit. Also, this dude has ears for days. Jesus Christ. Look at this dude's ears. This dude's head is 90% ears. Among the only other public moments of friction between the two GOP leaders came in 2017 when Patrick pushed Abbott to call a special session on a bathroom bill aimed at transgender Texans who would have required people to use the bathroom that aligns with the sex they were assigned at birth. The measure ultimately did not pass. Yeah, okay, so also Patrick is Dan Patrick is an insane transphobe that is for completely illogical, devoid from reality trans bathroom bans. This dude is, like, actually the devil. Like, I would love to understand. I feel like this dude is the embodiment of, like, strict father government. The idea that, like, the government is supposed to be like a stern, strict father that's gonna basically beat you into what you need to be. But this dude seems to be for everything that's horrible. Abbott vetoed SB 3 amid immense pressure from across the political spectrum to do so, with recent public polling showing that 50% of Texas voters opposed outlawing hemp products, compared to 34% who voiced approval. The governor also faced a forceful campaign by the hemp industry, farmers, veterans, and some conservative activists urging him to sink the ban. Patrick and his allies argued that outlawing THC was necessary to protect young people from high-potency products. On Monday, he disputed Abbott's argument that SB 3 would preempt a 2018 federal law that legalized hemp products, and he claimed that most Texans did not want to legalize the products for recreational consumption. It would not surprise me if a majority or very, very near a majority of Texas residents were in favor or indifferent towards the recreational legalization of marijuana. So for him to say, and he claimed that most Texans did not want to legalize the products for recreational consumption, seems like it probably is completely incorrect. His insistence on a ban, despite Abbott's call for regulation, sets up a difficult special session. Asked what could come out of the overtime round, Patrick said he would continue to push for a ban while conceding that lawmakers would have their own say. He also suggested the legislature could repeal the 2019 law that inadvertently opened the door to the state's exploding hemp market. I'm not mad at the governor, but I'm not going to legalize marijuana in Texas, Patrick said. If people want to vote me out of office for that, so be it. Patrick claimed that the last time he had spoken to Abbott before the end of the session, the governor told him that SB 3 is fine and don't worry about your bill. If he'd... I love the idea... Bro, the more I learn about Dan Patrick, the more I don't like him, and the more I like the idea of people just with him. And so I love the idea of Abbott, like... knowing that he's going to veto this last minute. First off, I don't think this is what happened, but I think it's hilarious to think that this is what happened, that he vetoed it he knew the whole time he was going to veto it last minute, and he was stringing Dan Patrick along being like, don't worry, man, don't worry, it's fine, we'll pass it, don't worry, it's fine, don't worry, I'll let it die on my desk, it'll go into action or whatever. I love the idea. For some reason, I feel like the idea of Dan Patrick getting upset about that is hilarious. If he had worked with us through the session, maybe we could have addressed some of his issues, Patrick said. But he made a decision to veto this bill very late without even giving us the courtesy of a call. Some Republicans, meanwhile, welcomed their renewed opportunity to rein in hemp-derived THC products even after they had voted in favor of the ban. I am glad he vetoed it, Republican Wes Verdell said in a text message, adding that it gave lawmakers a chance to work on a meaningful bill to address issues such as packaging, quality control, and chemically altered synthetic products. Representative Mitch Little said he continued to prefer a ban over the regulatory framework that the House initially considered, but he acknowledged that the legal issues surrounding a ban versus regulation are very real ones. Still, the split between Abbott and Patrick and the intense pressure on the legislature from both sides of the issue left GOP lawmakers in a no-win position. So yeah, this was a huge shock. I'm honestly, like, my mind is blown that he did this. My shock and amazement will be completely taken away if a week from now during the special session they just get this passed anyway. It would not blow my mind if this was either a distraction tactic, this was a delay tactic. They realized that neither option is great for them, so they kind of chose some sort of in-betweeny option. I'm very, very surprised that Abbott vetoed this, and I'm very happy he did. But I'm still not. He won a few points with me, right? Abbott won a few points with me by doing that, but still not enough points for me to have faith that he's like. To be optimistic about next week's special session that they aren't going to pass this right. I'm still cynical and pessimistic that he really is in favor of a full THC ban, and so that they will get it passed next week. And that they did this for some whatever reason. It would be nice. It would be nice if a week from now, they come up with a better bill that isn't a full-throated ban that maybe just regulates the market better. I'd be totally for that. Or maybe a watered-down version of the bill. It wouldn't blow my mind if we see maybe basically kind of like half of the provisions we see in the current full-throated THC ban, but it leaves some loopholes for some products and some things. Abbott won a few points with me. I'm shocked that he did this, but I'm still not quite enthusiastic. I'm still not quite optimistic about what's going to come next, and I have a feeling that they are going to get some form of either this bill or a watered-down version of the full THC ban passed in the special session next week. So this isn't really... When I first saw the headlines for this, I was like, oh my God, he vetoed it. Oh my God, what's happening? Oh, he must have had a change of mind, or he was stringing the Republicans along this whole time. But actually, the information in this article is showing that really it's more just, it may have been a wonky legislative decision that they wanted to rewrite Abbott wanted the bill written differently, and that's what they're doing. So only time will tell. We'll see. But for now, the sort of gray market THCA, Delta 9, Delta 8 hemp market that we have in Texas will remain legal for the time being.